Okay, so now we're going to get to the job characteristics piece of motivation. So remember, I mentioned that there's a very robust base of knowledge on how job design is very important. So when you told your manager that you were unmotivated currently, the question is, what should she do? Okay, so and with job characteristics, the question is, what do they suggest specifically? There are a number of different things that we can look at. The first thing that I want you to do is watch a YouTube video titled RSA Animate Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. I literally want you to watch it right now. It's 10 minutes, and then pause it. So if you plug this into Google or YouTube, you will find no problem finding the video. And then watch it, and with it, I want you to think, before you come back to our discussion, what does it suggest your manager should do? So go ahead and pause now. Pause. Make sure you're pausing. And you should have watched the video now. So now that you're back, you should have watched the video. So what does it suggest that your manager should do? So first of all, it's very cool the way that video is animated. It makes for really easy viewing. It suggests that pay is less of a factor, particularly for higher level cognitive tasks, than are these three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And not to belabor the point too much because you already watched the video, but essentially autonomy, according to Daniel Pink, is the ability, and this fits with the notion of discretion, autonomy, is the discretion to choose to do things in ways that you would want to do them. So he offers the example of a company that says, go ahead and work on your pet projects, like Google does, for 1 day a week. So one thing that your boss might say to you is, listen, you're getting a finance degree, and this is a private equity firm. Here's some of the things that I need, but what I'd like you to do is go ahead and work on Friday for 5 hours every Friday on a project that you think is very interesting to you and that could help our firm and help me in my job. Go for it and then get back to me at the end of every Friday. Because you have the independence, the ability to do what you're hoping to do front to back, the theory is that you will be much more productive and more motivated. Mastery, the ability to become very good at something. And so the video suggests that people will often do things, spend a lot of time and investment basically for free and give things away, as long as they get to either A, become good at something, or B, get to demonstrate something they're good at in the process. So your boss might figure out, what are you really good at, and what could you do to make a contribution within that vein. So maybe you are very good with creating spreadsheets that are formatted really well. Maybe you're very good at conducting research analysis. That would be something to consider. And those, again, are motivating. Notice that very much often it has to do with the way the job is designed. And lastly, purpose. People are motivated to make a contribution beyond whether it's to an organization, to the larger society. So, and it trumps the profit motive. So the idea would be, what could you do to do something that is purposeful for you? So given that you are a finance major, maybe something that's very interesting to you is this idea of socially responsible investment. So you recommend, or she recommends, that you put together a portfolio of burgeoning or new companies that are socially responsible companies, and she's going to take a look at them. She wants your input because the company may well be interested in investing in one of them. Or she gives you a list, because it's a private equity firm, of 3 companies that are coming to their company for assistance, and they are all socially responsible companies, and you're to start to do background work on them. So the idea is you now feel like you're making a meaningful contribution. It's a very interesting video. Now, in the vein of that, what you read are 5 core job dimensions that influence motivation. And we've already talked about autonomy and, frankly, task significance. That could be equivalent to purpose. Skill variety, the range of tasks. Maybe all your boss needs to do is offer to give you more tasks because it allows you to learn to become more cognitively challenged, and that variety will be interesting. Task identity, the degree to which a job requires completion, of a whole or identifiable piece of work, you will be arguably more invested if you created her upcoming presentation to the board. You're able to do everything, and we'll say Ashley to senior management. So she says, create this presentation for me, front to end, and then show it to me. And that, because it's a whole piece of work that's identifiable, will be more relevant to you. And finally, feedback, the degree to which people receive knowledge of the results from the job itself. So, the chapter that you read notes, for example, that a comedian gets immediate feedback response because people laugh at his or her jokes or not. In this case, what could your boss do to embed more feedback in the job for you? And literally, maybe she's just never given you feedback to say, here are the things that you're doing well and here are areas for improvement. So by doing that, she can help you become more motivated. There are two terms that are often used in this vein of job design. One is job enlargement and one is job enrichment. Job enlargement is essentially redesigning of the work task to change the number of tasks that a worker performs. So it's the skill variety idea. So job rotation, cross-training allows you to make your job bigger because it includes more tasks. And then there's this notion of job enrichment, which is redesigning jobs so that they play into fulfilling people's higher order needs like achievement, control, self-actualization. So again, the fact that you've got a business degree, finance degree, suggests that your job could be enriched by building in components into the job that take advantage of that skill set that you've been working to build. Now, another one is what's called self-managed work teams as a motivator. And this idea is somewhat akin to the natural work units referred to in the motivation chapter you read. I want to bring this up because these are becoming more and more prevalent in organizations. So a self-managed work team is a team of employees who share the responsibility for a whole task aimed at producing a product or service. So note that there's very much a task identity piece built in here. People like working on things excuse me, end to end that have meaning for them. So in this case, let me continue with that. The key features are that there's no first line supervision. So again, remember, these are people who are tasked with doing something like build the fuselage for a plane. So they get that whole chunk of the particular plane that they need to build as a team. Or, design this product end to end and create a working prototype for it. That's very end to end. And then the goal is, or the features are, there is no first line supervisor. So that means that the team has to work to manage responsibilities that would typically be delegated to the manager, him or herself. So there's no first line supervisor. In these self-managed work teams, there's often frequent job rotation, it's often built into these kinds of teams. So people get to take on more tasks, that skill variety, task variety. Cross-training, the team plans, regulates, and monitors the whole task without the supervisor. And the team does things like creates qualitative and quantitative goals, decides on who's going to lead for which time frame, what tasks to take on and how, when it'll work, managing things like team hiring and recruitment, and questions of the production method. So how are we actually going to do things? So note that a lot of these things would typically be addressed by the supervisor. So the supervisor would typically hire. The supervisor would typically lead, would typically create goals for the team. But because those people are now able to take on those particular roles, they are arguably more interested in the process. And it fits very much with this idea of these core job dimensions because people get greater skill variety, they get to work on something end to end, they get the autonomy to determine how the tasks are performed, and they can even give each other feedback in the process, or hopefully their supervisor who steps in to see the ultimate product gives them feedback. Okay, so let me stop here, and I'm going on to what may well be hopefully our final video.